Hey DCC, and welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee. Hey, I want to tell you just this quick story, and it's going to be kind of contrasted a little bit, but it's kind of about how to have fun, right? So it was about a year ago in the month of June. My wife has her birthday on June 6th, and then later is our anniversary, just a couple weeks later, and so we're headed off on some adventure. I think we've pieced together enough finances to get us a weekend away. We're going to spend the night somewhere, and we're just going to go do it. But we decided we're going to hit the mountains and do that. So we kind of went up north, peeled over to Boulder, kind of went north of Boulder a little bit, and then headed into kind of like the backside of the Roosevelt National Forest, kind of by Estes Park. But what was interesting was I just opened up the Google Maps, and I just watched these roads. I didn't map anything. I just wanted to take the roads that were closest to the mountains, and we could get all these. We could kind of follow the mountains along the way. And so we were we were on like dirt roads, gravel roads, and kind of just on this big, huge adventure, right? And then we finally make it onto a main thoroughfare, and then we start going. Then we see, eventually we find this really quaint campground, and there's this one spot where we can camp, and it's right next to this river. And so there's this beautiful river, and then our spot is like right off the river, maybe 10, 15 feet. And so it's just this gorgeous setting. We bought some wood that had been that came with us, and we had all these supplies, and we were just having a good time. We cooked up food and camped out, and it was just great. And so we were just like, it couldn't have been a better weekend getaway. It was super fun. But of course, like all good parents, right? We come back and we're like, yeah, we tell our kids about it. And so a couple weekends later, we go, hey, we're gonna take the family there. And so we take off on the same trip, but now when I go off-roading, I have to stop 5 times because girls have to go to the bathroom. And of course, I'm on back roads, so there aren't any bathrooms. So you're trying to find some place where there's some construction zone with a mini biff or something that they can use, or a heavily wooded area or something for them to go to the bathroom. And then, we take them to this campsite. And this time there's more campers than there were when Sharon and I were there. And we unfold this tent, and we realize halfway through putting it together that some of the rods that are supposed to be in the tent, we never made it. They somehow weren't part of our trip. And so it kind of slopes down. So we look like the worst campers ever. Like, we're not a poster child for REI or anything like that. We look like the, I don't know, Allegheny hillbillies or something like that. So we start this, this thing with like, man, we can't get this together. It was a little hot, so it was a little toasty, and the kids get a little cranky, and everybody's kind of hangry. But, at camp, you got to get everything going, you got to get firewood, and so it's not fun to make a fire in the middle of heat. And so anyway, long story short, it doesn't start out to be this dream adventure like it had been with Shara, just me and Shara. But as we went through, we started, cooking these donuts in a cast iron skillet, and we started doing, all this kind of camp food and stuff like that. And our kids are playing, and our kids go down to the river, and they're having a good time. And it ends up being like this really awesome time of fun, but just different, right? It was more stressful. There were more complaining. There were more mouths to feed, more people to be hangry, more arguments to have, and everything. And yet, it was a memory that I won't ever forget. And I think, I want you to think today about fun, right? We talked a little bit a few days ago about margin and trying to live in the margins of life. And I think one of the things that God, kind of created us for was this idea, this longingness in our heart to just have fun. So I wanted to read a Bible verse in Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes 5, verse 18. And so Solomon is here, and he's saying, "Here is what I've seen to be good and fitting, to eat, to drink, and enjoy oneself in all of one's labor in which he toils under the sun during the few years of his life that God has given him, for this is his reward." And so in this, right, God gave us this big desire to pursue fun, to pursue enjoyment, and that it's like kind of built into our DNA. There's this adventure. I think those of you who've done Wild at Heart or Captivating know this concept of the big adventure, this big thing that we're on, and that there's this inner part of us that strongly desires that. And so the enemy tries to attack us and get us to the place where, we can't afford to get away. We're too busy. Our business is going to fall apart. Or if I leave for a couple days of vacation, somebody on the team is going to try to work their way past me and smooge with the boss, and I'll lose my position or lose my status. Or, there's just all these pressures in our lives to prevent us from getting away. And if you're like me, I have 5 daughters. So the idea of going camping, trust me, I kind of got there through much reluctance, right? Like, how on earth, it's going to be fighting. There's going to be all this stuff. It's going to be a cramped tent. It's going to be, but in the end, if you take the time, if you just slow down and take the time and pursue that adventure, God shows up and gives you some of these things that you just don't ever forget. And so one of the things that I want you to think about today is, are you spending enough time making plans to build margin into your life? I'm not going to let this subject go. I'm going to keep returning back to it as we do morning coffee, because I really, really want you, I think it's really important. I think God wants you to build margin in your life, to enjoy it, not just to exist, not just to punch a clock, but to actually get out there and enjoy life. And all of us can do a better job of that. Have a good day.